Hello, good evening, and thank you for joining us on CoreTV News at 7. I am Ebulomo Adekunle. Council of Eze Ndigbo across 57 local council development areas in Lagos State have promised the votes of Igbos in the state to the governorship candidate of APC Akinwumi Ambode. Led by Gordian Dimojaku, the Igbo leader stated that at Iga Idugaran Palace of the Oba of Lagos, Abiolo Luwale has more on the stories presented from our studio.
The presidential elections might have come and gone. Groups across board have continued to strategize to ensure victory for their candidates in the governorship elections on April 11th. The visit of the Council of Eze Ndigbo in Lagos to the palace of the paramount ruler of Lagos, Rilwan Babatunde Akiolu, to declare their support for the Lagos APC governorship candidate in the forthcoming elections, Akinwumi Ambode. They hinged a declaration of support on what they described as the unprecedented progress Lagos has recorded in the last 16 years.
Saturday is going to be a very good election day, and Ambode is going to win. Yesterday we were discussing with him, we were in a rally at Trade Fair and Ojo Alaba. He himself saw how turnout was there. The Igbos turned out in mass to welcome him yesterday. Even Alaba International Market closed their market for a whole day. The same thing happened to Aspanda, the same thing happened to APT, the same thing happened to Balogun. So by Saturday you will see a different thing that is going to come. That is the promise we are making here.
Responding, the Oba of Lagos reiterated his support for APC governorship candidate, saying that Ambode's candidature will consolidate the ongoing development in Lagos.
You see, Ambode is just an individual and it's a symbol, and is going to deliver the message which I, by the grace of God Almighty Allah, the Oba of Lagos and the owner, traditional #1 citizen of Lagos today, send him another Oba chiefs, imam and bishops. It's only going to be there, all things being equal, for 8 years. So he's going on a mission, and God will give him that mission.
As groups continue to strengthen their support base ahead of the governorship elections, the electorate will be the ultimate decider who emerges victorious in polls.
The President-elect Muhammadu Buhari has urged supporters of the All Progressives Congress to come out en masse on April 11th to vote for the party's governorship and House of Assembly candidates. This is contained in a statement issued by Director, Media and Publicity, APC Presidential Campaign Organization, Garba Shehu. He noted that greater challenges of consolidating the party's electoral victories in the March 28th polls lay ahead. Buhari pointed out that the election of APC governorship and House of Assembly candidate was no less important than his own victory during the presidential polls. He said that his election should not be treated in isolation because the APC needs to win at other levels of democratic representation across the country. Buhari also condoled with the families of his supporters who lost their lives celebrating the APC victory and wished those nursing injuries speedy recovery. He solicited moral support for the Independent National Electoral Commission to enable the commission improve on its impressive performance despite logistical challenges and other unforeseen hiccups. Following the emergence of the APC presidential candidate Muhammadu Buhari as president-elect in the just concluded presidential elections, the estranged 19 All Progressives Congress lawmakers of Ekiti State House of Assembly have served the state governor Ayo Fayose notice of gross misconduct. The letter titled Notice of Allegations of Gross Misconduct reads 8 impeachable allegations leveled against the governor, which includes invasion of the House of Assembly with thugs and miscreants, instigating unconstitutional takeover of the House by 7 legislators to sit in contravention of Section 92, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, preventing of the 19 APC legislative members from performing legislative duties with the use of security agents and armed thugs, and sponsoring an unlawful impeachment process in the House. Other allegations listed in the notice are spending Ekiti State funds without the requisite constitutional approval in contravention of the Constitution, running the government of Ekiti State without legally constituted Executive Council in contravention of Section 192, subsection 2 of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, operating an illegal 2014 budget. In its response, Fayose has condemned the lawmakers as acting like jesters. It says it read the notice of the impeachment like any other person online, claiming that Adewale Omiri has ceased being the Speaker of the House. In a related development, the factional speaker of the Ekiti State House of Assembly, Dele Olugbemi, has dismissed the purported notice of impeachment against Governor Ayo Fayose and his deputy Olushola Eleka by the All Progressives Congress lawmakers. In petitions to the State Commissioner of Police, Taiwo Lakanu, and Director of the Department of State Service, Samuel Tamuno Olugbemi, asks for the prosecution of the embattled Speaker Adewale Omiri for forgery, impersonation, and attempt to cause breach of public peace. Olugbemi describes the notice of impeachment as a ploy by the APC to distract the state government. According to him, the Assembly never sat at any time to deliberate or pass any motion for impeachment of Fayose. In an April 4 letter written to the State Chief Judge, Justice Ayodeji Daramola, Olugbemi says Adewale Omiri, who signed the purported impeachment notice as Speaker of the State House of Assembly, was duly impeached at the plenary session of the House on November 20th, 2014. Olugbemi, however, affirms seeking the purported notice to impeach the Ekiti State Governor in some online newspapers. 7 People's Democratic Party lawmakers had on November 20th, 2014, impeached Omiri and his deputy Tunji Orishalade. Olugbemi, an ally of the governor, was installed as a speaker by the faction and had been presiding over the assembly. A former governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the November 2012 governorship election in Edo State, Major General Charles Ayawere, has defected to the All Progressives Congress. Ayawere, whose defection came 8 days after the 2015 presidential election, where the flag bearer of the APC, Muhammadu Buhari, was declared winner, was the national coordinator of the Good Luck to Good Luck 2015 support group. The former PDP chief was received by the state chairman of the APC, Anselm Ojezua, and the Edo State Governor, Adams Oshomole, on Sunday at an event held at Garrick Memorial College in Benin, the state capital. Ayawere explained that his decision to dump the PDP was based on the need for the state to continue to enjoy the benefits of the APC at the federal level while pledging his support for the state government. Welcoming the defector and his supporters, Ojezua described Ayawere's move as a setback which would be difficult for the opposition party to overcome prior to Saturday's House of Assembly's election in the state. While noting that the APC was open to more defectors, the state chairman assured the people that the party's policy would apply to all without discrimination. The River State Police Command said on Saturday that it had begun a manhunt for the killers of the former council chairman of Ogba, Egbema, Ndoni local government area, Chief Christopher Adube, and 8 other persons. The unknown gunmen also shot and killed Adube's 2 children, his driver, and some members of the All Progressives Congress who visited him at the Obricom residence, injuring 2 persons in Obricom Obo communities. In his reaction, the State Police Public Relations Officer, Mr. Ahmad Muhammad, said contrary to reports that 7 persons lost their lives in the night raid, the hoodlums actually killed 9 persons, and said the police was leaving no stone unturned to track down those responsible for the killers. The state APC in its reaction said it identified some of those killed as party members, including the former council chairman. Meanwhile, Rivers State Deputy Chairman of the APC, Prince Peter Odiche, told newsmen that the People's Democratic Party was responsible for the night raid that claimed 9 lives in Obrikbom and Obo communities. But the state's publicity secretary of the PDP, Mr. Samuel Nwasosike, dismissed Odiche's claim, maintaining that the APC was always politicizing marches bordering on human lives and security. It's the CoreTV News at 7. We'll take a break and return with more stories. Don't go away.
Don't you wish your mommy was fine like mine? Yeah. Don't you wish your mommy was smart like mine? Yeah. Don't you? Don't you wish your mommy could laugh like mine?
And that's why every mom should take 3 Crowns milk with low cholesterol to help stay fit and healthy so she can take extra care of her family.
Don't you wish your wifey was hot like mine?
3 Crowns now comes in powder.
Many thanks for being there with us, and for more on CoreTV News, you can visit our social media platforms. On Facebook, facebook.com/CoreTV News. Our Twitter handle @CoreTV News NG. And on YouTube, youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space, then news. The chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Adamu Muazu, revealed that Lagos and Rivers are the primary targets of the party in the next Saturday's gubernatorial elections across the country. He made this revelation in a statement where he urged members of the party to mobilize ahead of the polls, saying the All Progressives Congress is currently distracted by its success at the presidential election, describing APC's presidential victory as one-off. Muazu says the PDP intends winning in 24 states out of the 29 states where the elections would hold. Muazu insists PDP members should be proud of the party's antecedents and do all within their powers to emerge victorious on Saturday. He urged all PDP governorship candidates to go out and finish the good fight and come up triumphant in the elections. President-elect Muhammadu Buhari has assured Nigerians that he would not condone the looting of public resources. He also said he would handle state resources with responsibility and honesty. The incoming president gave these assurances while receiving a 130-member delegation from his home state, Katsina, who came to congratulate him on his election as president. Buhari regretted that the citizens had been made poorer in the last 16 years of PDP maladministration, in spite of the country receiving more income in that period than any other time. He said savings from his war against corruption will be ploughed into education with the objective of empowering the citizens. The delegation was led by Chairman of the Katsina State Chapter of the All Progressives Congress, Mustafa Inua, and a former governor of the state, Saidu Barda. President Goodluck Jonathan has called on Nigerians to be prepared to make sacrifices for the unity and political stability of the country. President Jonathan made the call in an Easter message he personally signed and made available to journalists by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Reuben Abati. He urged Nigerians to use the Easter holiday to reflect on what more they needed to do to ensure that the ongoing political process is concluded successfully. The president says with this year's celebration of Easter taking place at a period of very critical national choices and decisions, Nigerians must be prepared and willing to make sacrifices for greater unity, peace, political and stability of the country. In allusion to the successful presidential and National Assembly elections, the president expressed hope for the peaceful and successful conduct of the gubernatorial and state assembly elections. He further urged Nigerians to pray during Easter that God, who had brought the nation this far, would continue to bless the country as it marches onward towards the fulfillment of collective vision of a truly united, strong and prosperous nation. Deputy Senate President Ike Ekwuremadu has called on Nigerians to emulate the virtues and peace and sacrificial living as demonstrated by Jesus Christ. Senator Ekwuremadu made the call in his Easter message to Nigerians. He said only selflessness as demonstrated by Christ in giving his life in exchange for salvation of mankind could move the nation forward. Senator Ekwuremadu added that the peaceful conduct of the 2015 elections so far, against all odds and contrary predictions, shows that God was indeed with Nigeria. He, however, called on Nigerians not to relent in their prayers for the peaceful conclusion of the election on April 11th and to also carry the same attitude of non-violence into the remaining political contests. Edo State Governor Adams Oshomole says the peaceful conduct of the March 28th presidential election and the violence-free post-election period is enough reasons for Nigerians to celebrate at Easter. Oshomole made this known in his Easter message to the people of Edo State, saying that although there had been fears of violence during and after the elections, God has decreed peace. He called on Edo people to use the festive period to strengthen the unity of the country by showing love irrespective of religion. While commending voters in the state for their support during the presidential election, the governor also urged them to continuously pray for their leaders. Report says military authorities have handed over 2 journalists working with Al Jazeera, Doha-based international television, to the State Security Service. It was learned that the journalists were being handed over to the leadership of the State Department for further interrogation and possible release. The defense authorities had said in a statement on Wednesday last week that the 2 journalists were restrained for roaming in the mission area without authorization and necessary security arrangements from the military and to prevent any form of spying. It was further guarded that the nation's security chiefs had to take the precautionary measure of handing over the 2 journalists to the SSS to prevent people from straying into such sensitive operational areas without authorization. It was stated that the journalists involved in the issue are Nigerians who were being treated in accordance with Nigerian laws. Meanwhile, the Director, Defense Information, Major General Chris Olukolade, could not be reached for his comment on the new development. We'll take another break on the CoreTV News at 7 and bring you stories from outside Nigeria. Please stay with us.
Morning, Mr. President. Morning, sir. How are you, Mr. President? How are you, sir? How is the campaign?
We must learn to live together as brothers, or perish together as fools. Martin Luther King, Jr.
Thank you for being there. The battle for control of the holy sites in Jerusalem has once again come to the fore, with a group of Palestinians who protested outside the dome of the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City on Sunday after Jewish visitors entered the mosque compound under protection from Israeli security forces. These religious Jews were there to visit Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism, near the Al-Aqsa Mosque in celebration of the Jewish Passover. But it apparently did not go down well with the Palestinians, who protested what they see as a desecration of the third holiest site in Islam. Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta has vowed to respond in the severest ways possible to the Al-Shabaab militant attack on Garissa University, in which 148 people died. In an address to the nation, Kenyatta stated the Islamist group posed an existential threat to Kenya. He also said the government would take steps to crack down on those who planned and financed terrorist attacks, vowing to fight terrorism to the end. He said the militants would not succeed in their aim of creating an Islamic caliphate in Kenya. Kenyatta added that the task of combating terrorism had been complicated by the fact that the planners and financiers of the brutality are deeply embedded in the communities. The president's address came as the relatives of victims killed at a morgue in the capital, Nairobi, to identify their loved ones, seeing it as a time for parents to grieve for their loss. Kenyatta declared 3 days of mourning for the victims, amongst which were students. And that's it on the news at 7. Join us again at 9:45 for the primetime news. Many thanks for watching. I am Ebun Lomo Adekunle.